Steve Harvey had hosted Family Feud for over 12 years, and he thought he had seen everything that could possibly happen on a game show. But on that warm September afternoon in 2024, the studio lights felt somehow different, almost electric with an energy that nobody could quite explain. Two families stood ready to compete in what everyone assumed would be another entertaining episode. The Martinez family from Arizona faced the Harrison family from Georgia, both teams bringing their usual competitive spirit and family pride to the stage. But what was about to unfold would stop the entire production, leave Steve Harvey speechless, and create a moment of television that would be remembered not for laughter or celebration, but for raw human truth that nobody saw coming. If you appreciate real stories about real families, consider hitting that like button and subscribing to stay connected with content that matters. Sarah Harrison stood at the contestant podium wearing a simple navy blue dress and her grandmother's pearl necklace. She was 42 years old, a dedicated elementary school teacher from Atlanta, and she had been married to Marcus Harrison for 17 years. They had two teenage children together, and from the outside, their life looked like the picture of suburban success. Sarah had been excited when her extended family was selected to appear on Family Feud. It was supposed to be a fun family adventure, a chance to create memories and maybe win some money for their upcoming family vacation. Her husband Marcus had encouraged her to apply for the show, even helped her practice potential answers in their living room on countless evenings. He seemed genuinely excited for her opportunity to be on national television. The game had progressed normally through the first few rounds. The Harrison family was performing well, matching wits with the Martinez family in a friendly but competitive atmosphere. Steve Harvey was doing what he did best, delivering his characteristic humor, raising his eyebrows at surprising answers, and creating moments of entertainment that made Family Feud such a beloved show. The audience was engaged and energetic, enjoying the back and forth between the two families. Sarah had already contributed several good answers, helping her family build a respectable score. Her Aunt Patricia, her cousin James, and her Uncle Robert were all playing with enthusiasm and teamwork. Then came the question that would change everything. Steve Harvey walked to the center of the stage with the question card in his hand, ready to ask the next survey question. He looked at Sarah with his warm smile and read the question aloud. We asked 100 people to name something a person might hide from their spouse. It was meant to be a lighthearted question, the kind of survey question that typically generates amusing answers about hidden shopping purchases, secret snacks, or surprise birthday gifts. The audience chuckled in anticipation of the humorous responses that would surely follow. Sarah stood at her podium, her hand hovering over the buzzer. But something shifted in her expression. The smile that had been on her face throughout the game suddenly faltered. Her hand trembled slightly as she pressed the buzzer, winning the chance to give the first answer. Steve Harvey looked at her expectantly, waiting for her response. Sarah, name something a person might hide from their spouse. The studio was filled with the usual anticipation, the audience ready to react to whatever clever or funny answer she would provide. But Sarah did not give a typical Family Feud answer. Instead, she looked directly at Steve Harvey, and her voice when she spoke was quiet but clear enough for everyone to hear. A secret marriage to another woman. The studio fell completely silent. It was not the contemplative silence that sometimes follows a particularly clever answer. This was the stunned silence of people processing something unexpected and deeply personal. Steve Harvey's expression changed instantly. His trademark smile disappeared, replaced by genuine concern and confusion. I'm sorry, what did you say? Steve asked, stepping closer to Sarah's podium. His voice had lost its performative quality and taken on the gentle tone of someone who sensed that something real and painful was happening in front of him. Sarah took a deep breath, and when she spoke again, her voice was stronger, carrying years of suppressed pain and newly discovered truth. My husband Marcus is legally married to another woman. He never divorced her before he married me. I found out 3 days ago. The revelation hit the studio like a physical force. The audience gasped collectively. The other members of the Harrison family looked shocked, clearly hearing this information for the first time. Sarah's Aunt Patricia reached out to touch her niece's shoulder in support, her own face showing a mixture of surprise and compassion. Steve Harvey stood frozen for a moment, his decades of television experience not quite preparing him for this particular situation. The production team in the booth was equally stunned, unsure whether to cut to commercial or let the moment continue. Steve made a decision in that instant that showed why he had become one of television's most trusted hosts. He did not try to deflect or move past the moment with humor. Instead, he walked over to Sarah and spoke to her with genuine kindness. Sarah, honey, are you okay? Do you need us to stop taping? Sarah shook her head, tears beginning to stream down her face, but her posture remained strong and determined. No, Mr. Harvey, I need to say this. I need people to know that this happens, that there are women out there living lies without even knowing it. Steve turned to the audience and the production team. We're going to take a moment here, folks. This is more important than any game. He gestured for the family members to gather around Sarah, creating a protective circle of support. The cameras kept rolling because everyone in that studio sensed they were witnessing something significant, something that transcended entertainment and touched on deeper human truths about trust, betrayal, and the courage it takes to speak difficult truths out loud. Sarah continued, her words coming faster now as 17 years of unknowing deception began to pour out. I met Marcus in college. We fell in love, got married, built a life together. We have 2 beautiful children. I thought we were happy. I thought our marriage was real. Her voice cracked with emotion, but she pushed forward. 3 days ago, I was looking for our marriage certificate because we needed it for some paperwork. I found documents in our filing cabinet that I had never seen before. Legal papers that showed Marcus was already married to a woman named Jennifer when he married me. He never got divorced from her. Our marriage is not legal. I have been living as his wife for 17 years, and I am not actually his wife. The weight of her words settled over the studio. This was not a simple case of infidelity or a broken relationship. This was a fundamental violation of truth, a deception that had shaped nearly 2 decades of Sarah's life. Steve Harvey, who had counseled countless people through his various shows and books, seemed genuinely affected by the revelation. Sarah, I am so sorry this happened. Have you confronted Marcus about this? Sarah nodded, wiping tears from her cheeks but maintaining her composure with remarkable strength. I confronted him the night I found the papers. He admitted everything. He said he had meant to get divorced from Jennifer before we got married, but it was expensive and complicated, so he just never did it. He kept promising himself he would handle it eventually, but years kept passing and he never did. Steve's expression showed both compassion for Sarah and anger at the situation she found herself in. That is not just a mistake, Sarah. That is a choice he made every single day for 17 years. Sarah agreed, her voice growing firmer as she processed her own feelings in this very public moment. Exactly, Mr. Harvey. Every morning when he woke up next to me, every time he called me his wife, every parent-teacher conference and family gathering and anniversary celebration, he knew the truth and he chose to keep lying. The conversation that followed was unlike anything that had ever happened on Family Feud. Steve Harvey, with his natural pastoral instincts and genuine care for people, turned what could have been an awkward moment into something profound. He asked Sarah about her children, about her plans, about how she was coping with this discovery. Sarah explained that her teenage son and daughter were devastated but supportive. She had consulted with a lawyer who confirmed that her marriage was indeed legally invalid because Marcus's first marriage had never been dissolved. She was in the process of figuring out what this meant for their shared assets, their home, and most importantly, the well-being of their children. Why did you decide to come here today? Steve asked gently. You could have stayed home. You could have canceled your appearance on the show. Sarah looked directly into the camera, speaking to the millions of viewers who would eventually see this moment. Because I realized that if this happened to me, it is probably happening to other women too, and those women need to know they are not alone. They need to know they have the right to be angry, the right to demand truth, and the right to rebuild their lives. The studio audience began to applaud, not the enthusiastic game show applause of celebrating correct answers, but the deeper, more resonant applause of people recognizing genuine courage. Sarah's family members embraced her, offering physical support that matched the emotional strength she was displaying. Steve Harvey made another decision in that moment. Sarah, I want you to know something. Your courage in speaking this truth matters. But I also want you to know that you do not have to continue this game if you do not want to. We can stop right here. Sarah considered this for a moment, then shook her head with a small but genuine smile. Mr. Harvey, I came here to play Family Feud with my family. Marcus has taken enough from me. He does not get to take this too. The audience erupted in supportive applause, and even some of the crew members could be seen wiping their eyes. Steve Harvey, clearly moved by Sarah's resilience, nodded in respect. All right then, let us play some Family Feud, but first I need to say something to everyone watching at home. Steve turned to face the cameras directly, his expression serious and heartfelt. Ladies and gentlemen, we just witnessed something important. This is not the usual fun and games, and that is okay. Life is not always fun and games. Sometimes life is hard and people hurt us, and we have to find the strength to keep going anyway. Sarah is showing us what that strength looks like. He continued, addressing the broader implications of what had been revealed. If you are in a relationship where something does not feel right, trust that feeling. If you discover that someone you love has been lying to you, that pain is real and your anger is justified. And if you find the courage to speak your truth like Sarah just did, you are doing something brave and necessary. The game resumed, but it had transformed into something different. The Martinez family, their opponents, approached Sarah after the commercial break to offer their support and express their admiration for her courage. What followed was less about competition and more about community, less about winning and more about witnessing someone reclaim their dignity in real time. Sarah continued to play, answering questions with a mixture of humor and determination that showed her refusal to be defeated by her circumstances. When it came time for the final round, something remarkable happened. The Harrison family had accumulated enough points to play fast money, and Sarah insisted on being one of the two players. "I am making my own choices now," she said simply. Her answers were strong, clear, and confident. With each response, she seemed to grow more assured, more present, more herself than she had been when she first walked onto that stage. The total points revealed that the Harrison family had won $20,000, but as Steve Harvey announced their victory, it was clear that money was the least significant thing that had happened that day. After the taping concluded, something unprecedented occurred. Steve Harvey asked Sarah if she would be willing to stay and talk more, not for broadcast, but simply because he wanted to make sure she had support and resources. The production team, moved by what they had witnessed, compiled information about legal aid organizations, counseling services, and support groups for people dealing with marriage fraud and emotional abuse. Sarah accepted everything with grace and gratitude, thanking everyone for their unexpected kindness. In the weeks that followed the episode's broadcast, the response was overwhelming. Sarah's moment of truth resonated with millions of viewers who saw their own struggles reflected in her courage. She received thousands of messages from women who had experienced similar betrayals, from people who had been living with secrets that were destroying them, and from viewers who simply wanted her to know that her honesty had touched them deeply. Legal experts appeared on news programs to discuss marriage fraud and bigamy, explaining that Sarah's situation was more common than many people realized. Support organizations reported increased calls from people seeking help to verify their own marriages and address suspicions they had been afraid to investigate. Steve Harvey followed up with Sarah several weeks later, not for a televised segment, but simply to check on her well-being. He learned that she had filed for legal separation, was working with a lawyer to protect her rights and her children's interests, and had started speaking at events for women dealing with relationship betrayal. She had also connected with other women who had experienced marriage fraud, creating a support network that provided both practical advice and emotional support. The episode became one of the most talked about moments in Family Feud history, not for its entertainment value, but for its raw humanity. Media scholars discussed it as an example of how reality television could sometimes capture genuinely important moments. Mental health professionals praised Sarah's courage in speaking publicly about her experience, noting that such openness helped reduce the shame that often keeps victims of deception silent. Family law attorneys used the episode as a teaching tool, helping their clients understand that marriage fraud is both a civil and sometimes criminal matter that should be taken seriously. For Sarah herself, the decision to speak her truth on national television marked the beginning of a new chapter. She discovered a strength she had not known she possessed, found a community of support she had not known existed, and began the difficult but necessary work of rebuilding her life on a foundation of honesty rather than lies. Her children, though struggling with their own feelings about their father's deception, told her they were proud of her courage. Her extended family rallied around her, providing both practical help and emotional support. The story of what happened that day on Family Feud became more than just a viral moment. It became a conversation starter about honesty in relationships, about the courage required to face difficult truths, and about the importance of speaking up even when silence seems easier. Sarah's refusal to let her husband's deception define her, her choice to turn her pain into purpose by helping others, and her determination to keep living her life with integrity inspired countless others facing their own difficult circumstances. As time passed, Sarah reflected on why she had chosen to speak out at that particular moment in that particular place. She explained that finding the documents had shattered her sense of reality, making her question everything she thought she knew about her life. Walking onto that Family Feud stage 3 days later, She had felt like she was acting in a play where she no longer knew her lines. When Steve Harvey asked that question about what people hide from their spouses, something inside her broke open. She could not pretend anymore. She could not smile and give a cute answer when her entire life had just been revealed as a lie. So she told the truth, and that truth changed everything. Steve Harvey often reflected on that day as well, describing it as one of the most powerful moments of his television career. He had hosted thousands of episodes and met countless families, but Sarah's courage had affected him deeply. It reminded him that television at its best could be a platform for real human connection, for truth-telling that mattered, and for moments that transcended entertainment to touch something more essential about the human experience. The impact of Sarah's truth extended far beyond what anyone could have anticipated. If you found this story meaningful and want to see more content about real families facing real challenges, please like this video and subscribe to stay connected. Sarah's journey from that Family Feud podium to her current life, as an advocate for others dealing with marriage fraud, demonstrates that our most difficult moments can become our most powerful testimonies. Her courage to speak truth in the face of deception, to demand honesty when surrounded by lies, and to rebuild her life with integrity reminds us all that we are stronger than we know, and that truth, however painful, is always better than living a lie.